Hi everybody, welcome to Wake Up Well. This week we are looking at how we stand firm in sharing our faith, particularly for the cause of evangelism. And I want to tell you the story about two wise older men. These are people who pioneered planting church communities and creating communities of faith, of pioneering, weaving obedience to Jesus and a deeply rooted faith into everyday life. These are people who have really persevered in bringing the good news about Jesus to people who'd never heard about Jesus or the gospel before. These two people would describe themselves as elders in the church, and they've run a hard but a successful race for Jesus. And so now they are they're kind of walking with their bruises, and they're well aware of the setbacks and things that have happened in their lives. And yet their faith has grown. It's grown ever stronger because of those kind of things. It's not grown weaker over the years. And those two people I'm talking about are Peter and Paul, otherwise known as St. Peter and St. Paul from the Bible. And I really like Peter because he's a very straight-talking kind of guy. He's like a straight-talking Yorkshire man. And this is what he says. Let's read 1 Peter 5, starting at verse 8. He says this: "Stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." Peter is under no illusion. He says this: you and I have an enemy to you following Christ. And it's not an enemy to be afraid of. In fact, this enemy is vastly overpowered by the glory of God and the cross of Christ. But Peter's advice is simply this: you have to be alert to this enemy. This is a real enemy who wants to stop you following Jesus in the everyday. So just before that, in this, it's a letter that Peter's writing. He says, be humble. Be humble. In verse 8, he says, watch out, stay alert. Because the devil is looking for, I suppose, a legal right and an opportunity, a legal opportunity to attack your faith and to devour your faith. And I suppose undoubtedly we've been in a season, haven't we, with COVID and with lockdown, where that has been a real possibility and an opportunity for the devil. Many of us have felt isolated. Perhaps you have felt detached from the church family and the normal kind of scaffolding of faith life that you've been used to in church recently or over the years. Many people are asking things like, well, why do I need God right now? Or, why do I need church? Or why should I come back to church? Or why do I need a prayer life? Why is faith relevant after all this time away and so on? And many people are saying, well, what about, those difficult questions of faith and modern life, and how do they fit together, and does it all make sense anymore to me? And there I have no problem with those questions. Those are important questions. We should ask them of ourselves. We should ask them of God. But Peter has learned a safer way to ask those kind of questions, and to ask about and to process, I suppose, not just the questions of life, but the pains of life as well. Let's have a look at verse 9 of 1 Peter 5. He says, stand firm against him, the devil, and be strong in your faith. Remember that your family of believers all over the world is going through the same kind of suffering that you are. Yeah? He says, there's a family of God, there's the church. We are there to help each other to stay strong and to stay alert and to stand in our faith. Let's have a look at verse 10. In his kindness, God called you to share in his eternal glory by means of Christ Jesus, so that after you've suffered a little while, he will restore, support, and strengthen you, and place you on a firm foundation. That is an incredible promise from an elder of the faith who's walked through these kind of trials and tribulations. He says, there will be another side to the story, and Jesus will rebuild for you a really firm foundation. These kind of trials are not unique to you or to me. They've happened to believers all over the world all the time. Some people were really suffering for their faith, but we can draw strength that this is a common experience for all believers. And actually, its purpose sometimes is to build, or the possibility of it is to build a firm foundation for you and for me. And I want to leave you with that. The Apostle Paul is the same, isn't he? He says in things like Ephesians 4, verse 14, he says just very, very quickly, let's not be like immature children, tossed and blown around by every wind of new teaching, and then we won't be influenced by people who trick us and sound so clever, but actually it's lies that they're speaking. So today I want to encourage you just to stay connected, to stay in conversation with others who are mature in the faith, to be alert so that we're not tricked, so that we're not deceived by the enemy, and to remember that as you stand firm and remain true to Jesus through these things, he will build a firm foundation in your life. So today, I bless you.